Hey dear, Zimzi here, and Happy New Year's! We have a whole new amazing lineup of books that I'm really excited to read, and I want to share my most highly anticipated books of this year. And just so you know what kind of books I'm going to talk about, I love dark fantasy and gothic fantasy and sea dramas, and if that's your vibe as well, go ahead and stick around. Okay, the first one I'm cheating just a tiny bit because I am currently reading an arc of it, but it's a Sherlockian fantasy murder mystery, and I am talking about The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, who is the author of Foundryside. And this one is about a imperial officer who's found dead mysteriously because he spontaneously sprouted a tree from his body, and a magical investigator who has perfect memory recall is trying to solve the mystery of who killed him, how, and why, and the world building is absolutely fascinating because it has some cosmic horror elements where this is a coastal fantasy, and every wet season the tides rise and there's these giant leviathans. So I'm curious about what's going on in the background too for this one, but it's super interesting. Okay, next we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson, which is a dark academia Carmilla retelling. And excuse me, that sounds amazing. And I know S.T. Gibson's work previously from A Dowry in Blood, so I know she is fantastic at writing lush poetic writing, and she writes good spicy scenes too, so I think I have that to look forward to in this one. Okay, next we have an alternative history Spanish fantasy called The Familiar by none other than Leigh Bardugo, and this one is about a servant who performs miracles and she becomes coveted by nobility. However, she also has to try to hide and avoid the Spanish Inquisition, who could try her for like heresy and witchcraft and flaws and all. I love the Shadow and Bone series, so color me intrigued for her new series as well. Okay, next we have a Slavic inspired fantasy called The Sins on Their Bones by Laura Samotin. And this one is about two husbands on opposing sides of a civil war. So you can expect all the tension, drama, and heartbreak in this one. And I'm just personally super excited because my family is Slovakian. My grandma's family immigrated from Slovakia during the start of World War II, and things are getting pretty scary in Europe. So it's really cool for me to be able to see more Slavic fantasy in English books. And next, surprise, surprise, we have another Slavic fantasy, and this one I specially got a physical arc of, and it is When Among Crows by Veronica Roth, and it's about a holy knight who's able to like create a sword out of his own spine to slay monsters, and he's trying to hunt down the legendary Baba Yaga. I don't know why he's trying to hunt her down, probably to kill her. So good luck with that, buddy. And let me see what this says. The title apparently was inspired by a Polish saying of when among crows, you must caw like one. So I guess it's like maybe becoming a monster yourself to slay monsters, and I love that kind of story. Okay, next we have Asunder by Kerstin Hall, and this one is about a death speaker who can communicate with the dead, and she solves murders, and she's also contract bound connected to an eldritch being named Sebaster. And if this one isn't inspired by Black Butler, I will eat a sock, but it sounds amazing and I want to read it. Okay, next we have a historical Korean novel called A Crane Among Wolves by Jun Ha, and this one is about a young woman whose sister was kidnapped by this terrible tyrant king So she tries to rescue and avenge her sister, reluctantly with the help of the crown prince. And Junha is just fantastic with the amount of care and research she puts into her novels, and her character writing is so fantastic. So I really look forward to this one as well. Okay, next we have a silk punk novel called Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen. And this one is about an engineer who's trying to track down her father's murderer. And this one has mechanical dragons and airships, and it just sounds like fantastic and really interesting world building. Okay, next we have another Asian fantasy called The Girl with No Reflection by Keshe Chow. And this one is about a princess who's really excited to marry the crown prince. However, when she actually meets him, he's really cold and standoffish. However, one day she finds this mirror and falls into it and enters into this mirror world where everything looks almost identical, but the crown prince in that world is a lot more lovable and likable, and gradually she starts to realize that there's maybe something more sinister to this world, and it just sounds so up my alley. I love like sea dramas and mirror worlds like in Gallant, however you pronounce it, but this one sounds right up my alley. Okay, next we have a space opera by the author of The Expanse, and that is The Mercy of Gods, and it's about this domineering alien species that's trying to take over the galaxy, and they're decimating like all the populations that they're taking over except for the best and brightest among them. They kidnap one brilliant scientist who's trying to find a way to like undermine and sabotage their empire. And I love the Expanse series so much that I'm excited for this one too. Okay, next we have Crypt of the Moon Spider by Nathan Ballingrud, and this one is a space gothic with spiders, and it sounds amazing. I am all for space gothic and lunar punk, and yeah, it just sounds like a really interesting premise. Okay, next we have a dark academia by Allison Saft called A Dark and Drowning Tide, and this one is sapphic and it's got academic rivals, and the cover is absolutely stunning, and I am so excited to read this one. And last but not least, we have Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid, and Ava Reid is one of my Instabuy authors. She's just so poetic, and she's for the weird, quiet girlies, boys, ladies. I love everything she writes, and this is apparently a gothic retelling of Macbeth that focuses on none other than Lady Macbeth. And the cover, like, I legitimately gasped when I saw it. I love classical looking covers that have like pink font. It's like this wonderful blend of classic and modern, and I'm just so excited for this one. Like, I was a high school thespian, so anything Shakespeare related or Shakespeare retelling wise, I'm all for it. Okay, that is a wrap. I might have missed a few, but those are my top reads off the top of my head. But if I missed anything you're looking forward to, let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching and take care, everyone.